Oh boy, let's see if it works this time.
All right, we've had a little bit of technical difficulties today, folks.
A little bit of technical difficulties.
Yeah,
Jesus.
for number of this is attempt number 3 to go live to tape, and Jeff is on a big technical difficulty, a little bit of COVID action.
Yeah, don't buy cheap microphones from Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I've learned.
Because you'll get COVID.
Like, actually, no, the mic, like, it actually sounds fine when the cable's not being a piece of junk. So, yeah. Hi, it is the 4040, man. So
that is Jeff.
That's Greg. Yep. And, you know, it's been a crazy week for me. Forgive my voice. I've been COVIDed. So I'm going to be a little raspy on a tinny microphone.
But it's
a great combination.
It gives you a little more depth for that microphone as well. So that's what's good about it.
Yay. Because I'm such a deep person. Okay. So we was basically, let's see, we're going to discuss the first segment, what happened last week. Next segment, we're going to talk about revisiting the Kikuchi experiment. As I'm calling it part 2. Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah.
Because that is the best part 2 name.
That's the one where they save the community center because it helps all the kids, get out of the inner city. Yeah.
Breaking 2.
Yeah. Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Yep. Then we're going to talk to about 2 players in particular next segment. George Springer because of his injuries and Bo Bichette because of his meh.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. And then we'll be talking about trade deadline. Who have they gotten so far? Other people, and who do we really need now that they've gotten those other players? We will go over who's got who. And at the end, our last segment, we will go into some Pissy Jays fan stuff because there are always Pissy Jays fans. Although I will give you credit, Pissy Jays fans. It hasn't been that bad. But anyway, it's time for a commercial now.
Woohoo! And while I'm doing a commercial, Jeff is going to fix his mic.
Please tell me you're kidding.
Well, hey kids, we're a sports podcast and we finally got a beer sponsor. So this is a beer commercial, and no, there's not going to be classic rock, a ridiculous cottage by a lake with girls in bikinis trying to sell you schlock beer. There is a girl, however, who happens to be the brewmaster, and she makes killer beer. A small independent brewery out of the south end of the nation's capital, that is our nation, Canada, so in Ottawa. And the beers are also certified kosher as well. So you'll find an incredible lineup: session ales, Vienna lagers, sours, stouts, pales, and IPAs, and definitely not run-of-the-mill. And my personal favorite is the Belgian Beer Snob, because I'm a big fan of Trappist-style beers. So they don't need to throw around the idea that your summer will be awesome if you drink their beer. They just make great beer. But if you do have an amazing cottage by the lake with jet skis and 80s rock playing in the background, it couldn't hurt to drink the Shillow beer too. So go visit shillowbeer.com. That's shillowbeer.com. And there's Jeff.
Cool.
And we can hear him. Woohoo! This is good.
I haven't had to change anything.
This is good.
Yeah.
All
That's
right.
what happens to these grounded microphones and crappy computers. I don't even know where the microphone is on this bloody thing, but as long as it sounds all right.
All right, so let's baseball podcast.
So, yeah, week that was. So let's see. Monday, we start with the Sunday because we always air on Sundays, so we don't talk about Sunday. Sunday, last week we finished thumping the Red Sox, which was glorious. I have never seen a team play more horrible defense than I did that weekend of watching the Bo Sox.
And the bonus about that is that little hammering of the Sox combined with the way they've played this week has pretty much taken them out of any kind of playoff talks. They're just going to be sellers now. So we pretty much put a nail in their coffin. But it's always good just to beat up on Boston as well. So.
Well, it's kind of interesting who they're going to trade. We can talk about that trade deadline stuff too. But they've got some names out there that you kind of wonder about. The Monday they had a day off because they needed to chill after thumping the crap out of them. Then we hosted the Cardinals on Tuesday. Pretty good game. Springer had a slam. We took down the Cards pretty easily. I believe the score was 10-3, something like that. So it was a great game, just a good solid baseball game all around. Wednesday
was
we got beat by the 2004 Cardinals on freaking Wednesday.
It was their version of the 40-40 men, because Pujols at 42 and hit a 439-foot homer, which is apparently the
oldest player to hit a home run in
history.
Rogers Center history.
And then Adam Wainwright, who is still pitching well as well. So it's like 2 plus 40 guys that beat up on the Jays.
71. When they were, like I said, they were teammates back in 2004.
Yeah.
So it's the only thing that would have made it even more interesting is if Yadi Molina did something. It would have been
yeah.
But yeah, we got beat by a Cardinals team that was from 18 years ago.
Yeah.
Wasn't a great game, but it is Adam Wainwright, so I give him a mulligan on that one. Like, he was throwing these 71-mile-an-hour curveballs that they just could not hit. Like, it's amazing how they don't see it coming. He threw a lot of curveballs. I would have been sitting on a curveball the whole time, and nobody ever sat on a curveball. I couldn't figure that out. He was throwing a whole bunch of them, and that's what he's known for. I know he's a great pitcher, but man, you can't just let that go. You got.
Well, that's the thing too.
Not adjust.
I mean, a lot of these kids were probably sitting waiting for a fastball because it's a homer dome, right? And they've seen they've seen the offensive explosion they had the week before with like 28 runs, in a game, and which is kind of funny because the week previous, like, they were setting records in terms of runs, RBIs, all that, and then this week it was actually fairly tame for the bats. It was more of like in each game, it's actually been more of the pitchers showing up as well. So
yeah, which is fine. And like for us, the Thursday, because that's when the Tigers came to town, and we've been people thought they were going to be a walkover. They're not.
No.
I think people tend to forget that Detroit was actually a preseason pick to be doing pretty well this year. What's decimated them is pitching. They lost so many starters at the beginning of the year, like Tommy John or whatever it was. They've had to rely on some bizarre, starting pitching, but their bullpen is like the top 5 in baseball.
Yeah.
Their bullpen has been pretty good. But thank goodness on Thursday, we Kikuchi'd them on Thursday.
So here's the crazy thing, right? Kikuchi comes out, pitches, 5-ish innings, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks, but actually looks good doing it. So, like, wasn't dominant.
He could have pitched another. He only threw 67 pitches.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, Kikuchi was a guy who was throwing like 35, 40 pitches in the first inning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what they've been saying with Kikuchi is when he was sent down, and it's like I've been saying this for weeks, and until he got put on the IL. It's that he needs to go somewhere for a few weeks to work on the things he's been trying to work on.
Mm-hmm.
People don't really give enough credence to the fact that we didn't really have a spring training, and Kikuchi was signed towards the end of spring training, so we had a short spring. He had a shorter spring, and to do all the things they wanted him to do with pitch selection and grips and arm angles. So basically what has happened is they've developed his pitching into more of a, because they say he's very athletic, so they wanted to lean into his athleticism and throwing the ball in a more natural way.
Yeah.
And which is what he did. And when he does that, we see what the results are. So this will go into for another question for later on in the show, is like, how does that change what the Jays go for, or does it?
Or does that put him as like some trade bait as well? That's another thing too. Like, he put in a good performance.
No way.
No one's going to take him.
No way they would take that contract off of one pitch, off of one start.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
So then Friday, let's see, we had another day. We were doing all right. Manoah I'm glad it wasn't a line drive shot on. It was a bounce off the turf.
It was still 94. It was still 94 that hit his arm. So, that's always going to hurt.
Right on the elbow. Ugh. So we don't know what's up with him.
No, but the X-rays did come through negative. So it's probably it could be a bone bruise, and it could be something pretty deep.
Which is what happened to Don
Yeah.
with his ankle.
Yeah.
So if you go by that, it could be a couple
of
starts,
maybe. Yeah.
And then, of course, we had Saturday's game, which was we won 5-3, which is great. Thank God for Teoscar's 3-run home run. We weren't hitting. We only got 5 hits the whole.
Yeah, it was a hard 5-3. Like it wasn't like an in control 5-3. It was, we were lucky to get out of that one. That's literally what it was. So
and blasting the passes, Drew Hutchinson started for Detroit.
Yeah,
which blew my mind. I didn't know he's still big.
Yeah, well,
that shows you how far down the pecking order he is in their starting rotation.
But that's crazy though. Like the thing is, like he actually pitched pretty well. It was 2 hits and 1 run, and in 5 innings. He did the same thing. He was like 70 pitches, and he left because of an ankle injury. Like he could have probably stayed in longer. You know?
Yeah. I mean, but I think he is what he is. I mean, I don't think he's going to make the top 5 in that rotation. Right?
No, but that's
comes back.
That's the thing is like he's 31 as well. It's not like he's old for a pitcher. Like pitchers can he's got another 8 years in him, and he could actually get craftier as the time goes on, because that's what happens with pitchers is they have to actually start using a lot more of the arsenal, a lot more of the tools. And I think he actually has the ability to do that. But yeah, that's a definite blast from the past, because I mean he was 2009 pick. You got him in like late, like in the 15th round or something like that. Yeah.
9 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah, he was in our like he was on.
I mean, I'm glad he's still in it.
Yeah, and he was on the big club for 4 years. I mean, yeah, but in the rotation, or sorry, in the system for like at least about 7 or 8. Was it 2000? So do the math. So 7 years he was in the system for, and he was on the big club for 4. So I mean, Jens
has been in our system, so it shows you.
Yeah.
So good on him. We got the win. I'm happy with that. But like, it still showed us that our bats aren't really working.
No,
as a team sometimes,
and we can't rely on it. And that's what we got stuck on for a while, is just relying on okay, we're giving up 9 runs, but we're going to get 11. And that was what got us through the first half of the season, and it's not going to work in the second part of the season. So. Well,
that's what was supposed to get us through the whole season. Is that we knew we had an average bullpen, we had an above average starting rotation at least at that point, and we had the killer offense.
Yeah,
but I think it does go to show that we need a consistent left-handed threat in that lineup, and not Raimel. Like Raimel Tapia has been awesome the last month and a half. Biggio's been getting on base.
Yeah.
We have left-handed bats. We don't have that, one you really, really rely on to do some damage. It's a matter of where do we get that bat. But at this point, it's gonna mean you're getting rid of somebody on the team.
We'll talk about it later, but I've got a target for us for the next 2 days, and it's a pretty good left-handed bat in the outfield as well. So it's someone coming from the National League, but we'll chat about that later.
Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. What I also found out was David Peralta got traded from Arizona, which is interesting.
Yeah,
I thought that would have been a good one for us. I didn't know he was up, but anyway. So, oh wow, we're doing pretty good with time so far.
Yeah,
you have to excuse us. We're trying to time ourselves out with each other when we're not actually in the same place.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting way of doing radio.
Granted, I was going to say, I've had COVID once, and I'm pretty sure I had it like right at the beginning when no one knew what it was, in like November of 2019, when I was sick for 3 days and went to the doctor, and he said, strep throat. So
I'm just glad it's not knocking me on my butt that bad. Like it's just I just feel what's that? It's from a Bugs Bunny cartoon. I'm feeling mighty low.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be like, take your medicine and then nighty night.
Oh, that is one of the creepiest.
Oh yeah, the evil scientist.
The evil scientist was
yeah. As hell. And that's I think that might be the first appearance of Gossamer. Like the big hair with legs. Yeah. Yeah.
It definitely was. That way oh. Dear rabbit.
That's actually perfect.
Floating down the river on a mattress. Like that was, I don't know who wrote that, but I think that wasn't that a 60s one?
No, that I think that's still the 50s. Might be like maybe like 60 or 61 bit.
Because it was getting to the point. Because at one point, Looney Tunes switched into some. They did weird music.
Yeah.
As their transitions and the animation changed and the stories kind of got really bizarre, just weird.
That's
but anyway, 60s. Well, that brings us to our second commercial.
Woohoo! Gotta love hearing the dying in the next room. All right, well, here we go, kids. The fast fashion industry makes up 10% of all CO2 emissions and pollutes and dries up water sources. 85% of all textiles end up in the dump at some point in the year. And if you want to change those statistics and look good while doing it, might as well shop the Canadian Way. Clothing created by the Canadian Way is made from repurposed, recycled, and or biodegradable materials, manufactured in CO2 neutral sites by workers who are paid a proper wage, and all within this great country of ours. So if you're tired of contributing to the endless supply of garbage produced by humanity, then shop the Canadian Way. Starting with a fall lineup in 2022, visit the Canadian Way at thecanadianway.ca. I loved hearing the cough over in the corner there as I was just about to start.
There's no mute button. That's the other thing. There's no mute.
Well, there is on this, but I mean, I've got a window of 3 seconds to put the commercial pop up.
I got to look at the thing. There's got to be something. I've been looking through stuff and I can't find them.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so you're going to come on about the Kikuchi experiment.
Yeah. And randomly, so here's my crazy thing. Like, you know how we'll once in a while we'll do whoever we think the our player of the week is with our little segment called the Mensch from the Bench. I actually think that Kikuchi was our Mensch from the Bench from the mound this week. Like,
do you know he was named the Bison's player of the week for that one game he pitched for them before he came back up here.
But I mean, like.
His team must have really sucked if the guy who pitched 5 innings got the player of the week.
If you look at his stats though, like, I mean, he was in one game, he got the win. His ERA was 1.8 and a 0.6 WHIP, like 600 WHIP, and like 5K is nothing like crazy.
But 5 whole innings.
Yeah, but that's still good.
5 innings, like I mean, and it led to a good start for him up here. So. Yeah. Maybe he's turned the corner. But the thing is, this is happening at such a really strange time now, though, because the Jays were hardcore trying to land a starting pitcher. You knew that was going to happen, especially with Ryu out as well.
Now, Ryu's out for a year and a half. So that's...
Yeah, so Stripling's been great. He's had a 3.10 ERA as a starter, which is awesome. His WHIP has been around 1. His game yesterday when he took on with Drew he did all right. He got a bit of trouble in the 5th and had to be taken out, but that was kind of some defensive crap going on in that as well.
Yeah.
But it lessened the need for a starter, and then Kikuchi has maybe lessened that a little bit more. But that being said, we still should be getting another starter. The thing that changes, I think, though, is what caliber of starter we get.
Yeah,
because I think now you're looking at a back end rotation guy as opposed to a 3 or 4.
Yeah. Now, but this is the thing too. Like I was wondering if he was essentially playing for his Jay's life on that one as well, right? Like because he was thinking
no.
You don't think? No,
because the contract's too big. The Jays have painted themselves into a corner when it comes to Kikuchi.
Yeah,
with that contract. I don't think people anticipate him being as bad as he was, although it is as bad as he was in the second half of the season last year. And they're like, we thought we were getting the all-star Kikuchi, not the other Kikuchi. It's like they had the things they want to do with him. They knew what they wanted to do. It's like just like they did with Robbie Ray. They knew what they wanted to do with Robbie Ray. But like I was saying before, we just never had a chance to do it because he had to be thrown into the fire because he was one of our 5. But they had 3 weeks off. Was in the IL to go over what he needed to do.
Yeah.
Like to really just work on what he needed to,
And then as one of your Pissy Jays fans said, he just didn't look happy. He looks happy now.
Yeah,
Like when he's pitching, he looks happy.
Well, that's the thing. If you're pitching well, but I was reading a thing with him. His problem is he has a self-confidence issue in general.
Yeah,
he said this in an article. He was saying that he just doesn't, if he's not feeling right, it really brings him down. Like he really takes things harder than he should be as a major leaguer.
okay.
And when he does that, you could see what happened like in that start in Seattle where everything was just garbage. There was no conviction to what he was doing.
And that's also got to kill him for a bit too, because that was his first MLB club as well, right? Like he played for 7 or 9 years in the J League and coming over and doing well in Seattle. So it's always good to go over there and spank your old team kind of thing, right? But
and he did nothing with the spankings. So I mean, he's part of the rotation for now. Do we trust it?
I think you trust it for the next game, and then you don't for 2 after that, because that's what had been happening. He'd go like 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off, right? So
but that's because he was always trying to make changes in between. He was always trying to make a change, and when you're trying to make 5 changes and throw them out and get thrown into a game every 5 days, that's something you're going to do well because it's just an inevitability because he's naturally got good stuff, right? Like 97 mile an hour lefty is not common.
No,
and that's one thing I've not really understood. That's one thing I've always found weird. Is why lefties are always softer tossers than righties. I don't understand that.
I think it's a mechanics. Like then because I'm
a lefty.
I can
baseball.
I can throw a football left-handed. I'm a righty. Obviously I'm more dominant than right-handed, but I can throw a football left-handed because I understand the mechanics behind that. But I look like Monty Burns out there, like like trying to throw a baseball left-handed.
I'm a lefty. When I was playing baseball at 18, I was throwing 91 miles an hour.
Oh wow!
And that's pretty. Yeah, it was good. And then I blew my arm because I was doing it too hard.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's like Randy Johnson is not a common thing, and Jimmy Key is more. Looking at. We're talking about good left-handed starters, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's changing a little bit. I mean, you're going to see a lot more velocity from the left-hand side coming up, but there's still that stigma that they're not.
And I've actually started to see a little more, sort of submarine throwers from the left now too. Like that used to sort of be a right-hander thing, but now we're actually getting some of the left guys doing that as well. And it looks weird coming from the mound because as a batter, that's hard to hit because you're used to it coming from a specific spot. And now it's coming from underneath you. But
there's a reason Adam Simber's a good pitcher.
Yeah,
that's exactly the reason.
Yeah,
Mary was good, and why Mark Eichhorn was pretty good.
Yeah. Eichhorn was the one that comes to mind for that one because that's been the Big J's one for that. But
well, the one I remember from that was 1986. Mark Eichhorn pitched 172 innings in relief. He came within 8 innings of qualifying for the E08 title that year. That's how much he pitched.
That's insane.
Because in '86, our starting rotation wasn't the greatest. It was too bad because it was the year after we got
it to the playoffs the first time. Yeah. Yeah.
And then got thumped. Don't mind me looking for my water.
Had a 3-1 lead against Kansas and lost the next 3. That's like we have. It's kind of funny.
See, that's the thing. Dave Steve should not have been pitching as long as he did in that game. He shouldn't have even been pitching that game. It was just too short a rest, and he took him in too long in that game. If you want, by the way, this is a plug for another group of people. I see them on YouTube. They're called Dorktown. Dorktown does great documentaries. There's a 4-part one called Captain Ahab, the Dave Steve story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 4-part series. If you want to learn how much Dave Steve got screwed in the 80s for lots of stuff, watch that documentary. It's amazing. It's one of the best sports docs I've ever read.
Him and Jack Morris are the two, have the best records throughout the 80s, and neither of them is even considered for the Hall of Fame now. Like, it's crazy.
Jackson.
Did he get voted in? Are you sure? Yeah. It took a while though. It took like a lot of balance.
Oh, it took a long time.
Yeah.
See, he did. The thing is, if you look at the metrics, like you start looking at actual stats that we use now that they didn't use back then, Dave Steve was the best pitcher in baseball for the entire decade.
Yeah.
No, not even. And he lost Cy Young awards to people who had They had no business winning Cy Young awards.
And there was that
And
one month. There was that one month where he had two starts in a row that went to the ninth inning with a no hit. Two starts in a row. Yeah,
July 14th and 21st.
Yeah, and then like a couple of weeks later, that's when he actually got it, because there was like three in a span of 5 starts that he had a no hitter going into the ninth, and when he actually finished it off. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, the one that won in Cleveland. Well,
yeah,
like there was one he lost because the ball bounced wickedly off the mound over Manny Lee's head. That was a bounce you would never see in baseball. It just kind of happened. Then he had that looping it just over Fred McGriff's head from Dayton Buford, I think it was.
Oh, I wouldn't have picked that spot up. Yeah.
And then you had a guy who never hits home runs. I can't remember which player it was for the Yankees. 2 outs, and it's Bobby Higginson, I think it was.
Oh.
Or somebody I think it was Bobby Higginson was playing for the team, and he hit this home run with a guy who never hits home runs.
Yeah,
it was just 2 outs in the ninth inning, bull crap losses. It was crazy. But I said, go watch that Captain Ahab series. It's 4 parts. It's about 3 hours long. All 4 parts put together, maybe longer, but it's really it is so detailed. So shout out to Dorktown. It's an amazing documentary to really show how good he was and how much people did not appreciate how good he was.
Yeah.
A, because he was a bit of an ass. B, because he played in
Toronto, yeah, and that's the thing.
Toronto.
And he was what, 9-time All-Star, but for 8 of those, he was pretty much the only one that we could have sent that was legitimate.
Yeah. No, I mean, starting from you look at his numbers from 1980 to 1989, he is the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
And guys have gone into the Hall of Fame for 10 years worth of production.
Yeah.
So Roy Halladay got in for 14 years.
Yeah.
He wasn't around forever. Dave Steve has been he literally it may be the most, and that's the point of the documentaries. He may be the most screwed over Blue Jay in terms of how history portrays them than any other Blue Jay in our team ever.
Well, we've had a couple of guys that don't really get the love they should. Like Fred McGriff is seven home runs away from 500, and his production declined over the years. So that he wasn't a Balco or any kind of roidy thing. Like he was literally getting old, and he ended up with 493. Yeah.
If there was a full season in 1994, he would have had 500.
He would have had 500, and then you get 500 home runs, and you're in.
And that's my point with the Hall voters is you got to get numbers off some things. When you're 7 down, but you realize that he lost 2 or 3 months because of a strike,
you got
to you just got to look at it for what it is. You can't just he didn't get 500. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's really ridiculous the way they really count on the stats that much. It's too much. You got to give these guys a little bit of credit. So anyway, back to what we were talking with Kikuchi. So this is the other thing I wondered about this, because when Kikuchi went down, we had no other replacement. Right? That's been a big problem with us. Should the Jays start changing their draft strategy, or should they always go for the best player available? Because they've always gone for the best player available. And I know pitchers take time to develop. I get that. It's not the same as other sports. But we don't, all of our decent pitching is in A-ball.
Yeah. But here's the thing too. It's hard to say should they start changing their draft strategy, because it does take so long for a baseball prospect to actually come up from the minor leagues, or from essentially when he's been drafted, with the exception of if you get randomly the national stage, you get a Harper or a Strasburg when they're 18, they're ready to rock and roll. They go for a couple of weeks and then just pop up onto the big roster. But if you're drafting to solve a problem now, then that problem will have gone away in 4 years by the time that pitcher's ready to go. So I don't think they changed their draft strategy. I think they still do what they've been doing.
Yeah. The issue I have is they always draft infielders.
That's a thing. They don't
draft outfielders. They don't draft outfielders. They do draft some pitchers, obviously. But the one thing they don't draft is outfielders, and we have none. Samad Taylor, we got in a trade, and he might be our best bet for being somebody who might make the roster. But he's also 24 years old. He's not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have outfield prospects. We have them.
But this is also a thing too. We can actually convert guys that are third baseman or shortstops and third basemen with like
Yeah,
big arms. And to think,
you
because
can, but we don't.
think of what Gurriel was. Gurriel was a middle infielder when he was drafted.
Yeah,
And now he's actually doing better in the outfield because his throw was too wild, and they
yeah,
realized that he
but
actually had
they
too
didn't
much
do that
power in
till
the arm. Yeah.
but they didn't do that till they reached the majors.
Yeah.
Like that's my point. Like they could do that with some guys, but they don't.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing about our minor league strategy that drives me bonkers. Like I think they look at it as if we get the best player available and we develop them, they're doing all right, then we can trade for what we
Trade
need.
for what we need. Yeah.
But you can't trade for what you need for everything. You need some guys coming up. Like
Yeah.
like all of our guys, like Bo and Vladdy and Espinal and Biggio, all infield guys.
Yeah.
Lourdes was an infield guy.
Yeah.
Until we put him in the outfield because he couldn't throw to first.
Yeah.
But like, we've got catchers, luckily. We put some guys into catcher when they were already being infielders.
Yeah.
Like I get the athleticism aspect of it, but sometimes you just need an outfielder.
Yeah.
A guy who's an outfielder.
You need a cannon that can hit. Like that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Anyway, it's just one thing that's always driven me. But I know you can always trade, but sometimes you can't. And right now, it's proving that point. We didn't have people to bring up. We have middle infielders, but we don't have the starting pitching. I mean, we were trying to rely on on Kay and Hatch and those guys and Pearson, but they didn't come through.
It did nothing for us. Yeah.
And like we traded for Hatch, we traded for Kay. We didn't develop them; they still sucked. And we have no guys we're developing. Like Zulueta is going to come up probably this year in the bullpen, more than likely because he's got arm power, and that's what we need. We need guys who can throw the ball hard in the bullpen, and that's going to be, I think, our focus when the trade.
Well, that's I think there's definitely going to be like maybe a little more pickup of an outfielder because we are fully stocked beyond any team's needs for infielders that we have, and we've got 3 catchers that are pretty much for the next 10 years we're fine for catching barring severe injuries, and pick up an outfielder. That's literally it. But like the pitchers,
we pick up an outfielder, we got to get rid of an outfielder.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the draft strategy. I'm talking about the draft strategy.
Yeah. No, I mean, in our draft strategy this year, what we picked up in high school, we picked up a high school arm. Another, we picked up I think we got an outfielder and we got a second baseman in there. I mean, it wasn't it was an okay draft. I mean, it just wasn't, like, there's no Alec Manoah in that list.
No, but it never hurts to pick up a pitcher though. Like, fine with that. So
yeah, you can always use arms.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I'm gonna do the let's do the mensch from the bench, and then we'll say who you think our players of the week for this week were, because it was an odd one. It wasn't just like homers. So mensch from the bench. Alrighty. So your mensch from the bench.
Well, I guess for me it's going to be Kikuchi right now.
Yeah, it's
because
crazy.
He came back and he did all right, and he got through it, and he seemed to have a little more conviction behind what he was doing. I'd also like to give a shout out to Lourdes, because he had a really horrible April and a horrible May, but man,
he's been on fire lately.
Come on, like he's up there with Alejandro Kirk in the top 10 in batting now.
Yeah.
His on base percentage is going, like, it seems like every time I watch a game, Lourdes is getting on base. My
pitcher as well was Kikuchi, which, if you were to ask me this last week or 2 weeks ago, he wasn't even on the team. Also, we'll give a shout out to David Phelps as well. He actually did pretty well in relief, because we're really hurting in our relief at this point.
And Jimmy Garcia, I'll put on that list too. Jimmy Garcia has been doing awesome.
Yeah, but I think in terms of the batting prowess, I'm going to say Matt Chapman. He's finally starting to hit, and it looks like that's the Matt Chapman that we signed. 6 hits, 3 homers, 6 RBI
too.
Yeah,
he's been saying he feels more like himself, and honestly, he had that hip surgery back in the day. Who knows how long it takes to get over hip surgery and then to a new team and all that. He's in a good ballpark for it.
Yeah, so, but he had a 329 average and 556 OBP with 6 RBI and 3 homers. So I'm like, all right, that's a good week. I'm good with that.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then you
All
look
right.
at Judge's numbers where he's already on 42 homers. It's insane.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
He's yeah. All right.
Shall we pop a commercial
Time
and
for
then
commercial number. Yeah.
number 3 coming up. It did not flip over as quick as I intended. Well, folks, how we doing? Hey, kids, do you want to be a podcast superstar like us? I'm going to let that one slide for a second because I didn't get that little graphic pulled over. If you want to host a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel or just create a cool video blog, the Stage 10 app can turn your computer into a production studio by adding graphics, music, and videos on the fly, as well as patching in multiple guests, some from as far away as China, as we did with Jeff a couple of years ago. Friendly staff that will help with any problems that may occur. Josh has bailed us out on many occasions as well. Stage 10 allows you to broadcast simultaneously to multiple platforms and all social media sites. If you want to be cool and you want to look like us, Stage 10 can make you look good. So visit stage10.tv. Boom. There we go. That was a bad little cut by me.
It happens. That's what editing programs are for. Before we get started on the next segment, we were going to talk about George and Bo. There is one thing that I did not put in the lineup that I meant to put in the lineup, and that is the first iterations of how they are going to refurbish the Skydome.
Oh yeah, no, I actually had a thing that I was going to add because I figured we would have gone a little long. It looks really, really cool, but it's kind of funny because they're actually sacrificing, some attendance in terms of that. But I'm pretty sure they're going to be fine with making up on the revenue. Yeah.
They talked to Shapiro about that on one of the broadcasts, and he said that all stadiums, the new ones that are building, their capacities are usually 20% less than they were before that.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is because they want to make it more of a fan experience, which all that means is just all the ticket prices are just going to go up a little bit.
Yeah,
keep the revenue stream.
The beer is going to go up. Well, the beer is always expensive here, but I mean, one of the things that they are cutting out is those 500 levels right by where the hotel was, because there was, if you were sitting in those things, there was parts of the outfield on the far side that you couldn't see. So we did.
Well, he also said they're replacing every seat on the 500 level.
Yeah.
Like they're the same seats that have been there since '89.
Yeah.
The other thing is when they're doing the lower bowl, which they haven't shown how they're going to do it yet. But basically, this is what he said: we have the second biggest foul territory in baseball. The only one that has more is Oakland. And everybody knows how cavernous Oakland is. Mm-hmm. So what he wants to do is they want to bring it in closer, right? So they're going to take down the entire 100 level. Right, bring it in closer, so you get rid of part of that. Take up part of that space in there.
Yeah, because
all the seats are going to be like regular baseball. The seats are going to be fastened so they're facing home plate.
Because they've taken away the whole. They're taking away the whole multi-purpose facet of it right now because they used to slide around and then form a V and then hold the football field shape, right?
Yeah, because you can pull. So the whole thing is there's going to be no more like. Seats that can be pulled out anymore. They're going to be like standard cemented down.
Because there is that bit like when you go straight down the first and the third line where there's like that big sort of space because that's where it would have gone and then you have to go in through the the gate at the top, but you're like 117 A B C D and then you got to go all the way down there. So
I did not a big fan of that section.
If you have to pee, that's sitting in those ones. And I've actually sat. It's actually kind of funny, and I remember it. It was 92. I don't remember the exact date, but it was July of 92. And my sister and I were sitting right in the corner, and I tossed popcorn on top of on top of the outfielder because the ball came into the corner. It was like boom. Back then you could do it.
I remember in '89. I went to one of the playoff games against Oakland. They swept us in that one. It was the game. Mike Flanagan was pitching. It was the game when Jose Canseco hit the very first home run into the 500.
In the 500.
And I was in the left field side of that, right where you're talking on the left side. So all I remember is the whole session going, because the ball just disappeared, and we're like, oh my god, the guy, how the hell? Ricky Henderson was out there. People are throwing throwing mustard and ketchup packets at him because he's such a hot dog and stuff. But
and then a couple years later we get him.
I've never heard a stadium go more silent immediately as soon as Canseco hit. The crowd was going nuts. Canseco hit that home run, and it was like
shut everyone up.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Like it was weird.
But
so anyway.
They're doing 300 million they're spending on this, and it's gonna take place in the off season for the next 3 years. But the two big ones are going to be this year and next year, and then
the outfields, all the outfield stuff they showed us on TV and all that stuff that will be done for next year.
Yeah, and they've got those bars. They got those bars that are on the top part now, which is actually kind of cool and kind of not. Because remember, if you just wanted to go to a game, you'd get like the cheap seats up in the 500s, and then go down to like the landing deck bar. Now it's like that part's a bar, so whatever.
Well, it used to be when they first opened it, you weren't allowed to go from section to section. I remember when I was a kid. You wanted to go from 500 to the 100 level, and they're like, no, you're 500 level. You're not allowed to come down here anymore.
But also, when it first opened, like they were selling out pretty much every game. Like the rule of thumb is if you're going to go from section to section, don't be an idiot and like go from 500 to front row first. You can go down to the first level, but give yourself like 10 rows, maybe 13 rows or something like that. Like don't do the massive move, right? Just do an incremental move like that. No one will notice. That was the rule of thumb.
So the other thing I think they got to do with this, and they didn't, and I'm surprised they didn't, was that estimate in general.
Yeah.
It's not used very much.
It's literally used during Jays games. That's it.
Yeah, occupancy rates are really low.
Yeah.
I would blow out the whole hotel and make it like open concept and like do like the Yankees have and have like a Hall of Fame-ish like history of the Jays kind of area to walk around.
Well, but that's the thing.
Because that whole outfield thing now is just a big walk around now. Right?
Yeah.
There are some designated seats, but it's basically like, I'm going to lean on this ledge and watch some games from here, and then I'm going to go over there and lean on a ledge and watch them. Oh, there's some seats over, that kind of thing. So if you're going to do that, open it up. Like it's still dark. Like,
the hotel, like the majority of the construction of the hotel is behind the stadium. So if they wanted to do like that, they would have to sort of dig out into the stadium and go up. So I don't think they're going to do it. But the one big thing that I did notice that they weren't going to touch was the field, the outside of the stadium, or the roof as well.
Well, apparently the dimensions of the field are going to change slightly.
No, but I mean in terms of turf and grass, like they're not touching. Well,
it's never going to be grass. It'll never be grass. It's never going to be grass. Anybody who wants grass, tough.
It's not going to happen.
You don't have drainage.
Yeah.
There's no drainage. Like
because
it was a building without any drainage in general.
Because it was built as like it would hold football, baseball, and concerts, right? So they were just imagining the amount of concerts that would go in there. So,
but wouldn't you put drainage in anyway? It seems like something that would be just. But anyway, with all the infrastructure around it now, there's no way you can do it.
Yeah.
So anybody who thinks you can, like I had an argument with a pissy Jays fan about that. Because they should have put grass in. I'm like, you can't. Well, they could if they tried. I'm like, no, they literally cannot do it unless you're gonna like disrupt the entire.
You have to dig under. You have to dig under for like a good solid few feet throughout the whole thing. Yeah.
But what I find funny is this only buys the Jays 10 to 12 years until they need to do a new stadium.
Well, that's the thing. It's like,
he goes, this is a medium fix, but we still need a stadium.
Yeah, but this will buy 10 to 12 years, 15 to 20 max, because they're spending 300 million on this, right? So that's essentially saying, all right, we're doing this, and then everyone shut up about a stadium until at least there's 2030, 2035 kind of thing. So that's what that's done. Yeah.
So that brings the other question when it comes to stadium. Like I know we talk about Springer and Bo, but I think it's a little more important right now is where do you put the new stadium?
Oh yeah, well
because honestly they have the best location they could possibly have ever had.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like the only thing you can do, we've talked about this a bit, is that when you've got that lower, like if you've got your Sky Dome here, right, and up here is where the city is, and down here is where the water is that you're constructing a stadium here.
Yeah, and now that's the thing. It's like think of all the the transportation hubs and everything that they've built in to sort of factor into the fact that you've got, Scotia Arena there, you've got you've got the Dome, you've got the CN Tower, you've got Ripley's, you've got all those things there in that area specifically. So you have to keep it within a few block spot. The only other place you can put it is in the docks.
Yeah, like Cherry Beach.
Yeah, but what they could do for a thing is, just say they build a temporary one for 3 years while they destroy that and build above it or something. Build it on the same spot.
They'll play them in Buffalo if that's the case. That's just how they'll do it.
Yeah.
The only other thing I thought would be an interesting idea, because this would be a very historical thing for Toronto as well, and I don't know if it can actually be done, would be to somehow construct it on the islands.
Oh, there's no way. Yeah, there's no way they would do that, because the people that live on the islands that's hardcore. Like, they don't sell those houses because they will those houses to people. That's an island community. That's, if they put it back
on that side, but if you do it towards the Hanlon side, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd have to build more island. You know what I mean? Like you'd have to expand the island, put some dirt down or whatever to do it. But other than that, if they can't, there's no other place to do it. Like, then they're going to start putting into places like Woodbine.
Yeah, and that's stupid.
And I mean, it's not a stupid idea for the location wise, because it's right by a bunch of different highways. It's got a huge lot that they can put it on and do whatever they wanted to, and it's accessible to the people who are outside the city.
But it's not accessible to the city.
In the city,
yeah.
People in the city are totally screwed.
And that's one of the things, because it's 81 home games. It's not like it's 8 like a football game, right? Like a football team. It's 81.
Yeah.
And that means, like, the amount of times when I was in film school at CBC, right across the road, and we'd had a class that finished, and there happened to be a 1:00 game that started, and we finished at 2. I'm like, yeah, let's go to the game, because the amount of times you can just get it. Let's walk up to the game. But that's a thing to bring people down and also experience the rest of the city. So you got to keep it downtown. Like, I would, an outstretched part is essentially where the old Maple Leaf Stadium was, where the Tip Top building is. The Tip Top building, just down on Lakeshore. So that's it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's like, you'd have to knock down Tip Top to do it. It's a big condo place now, so it'll never happen. And the infrastructure is only streetcars now. Like the way it is, like you said, when it comes off of Union Station, walking down the pathway and all that.
Yeah, it's pointless. Yeah,
it has to be
there.
I think, honestly, maybe they'll just keep re-renovating this place.
They could.
Like, I think, like you mentioned about the concrete on the outside, which is the thing that I've always had the biggest problem with that stadium, is that the outside of the stadium is horrible looking.
It's just
great. But
really
they tried to do it with
sterile,
the banners and stuff, and trying to kind of work around it. What you got to start doing is buzzing out some of that concrete. Reinforce it so you have openness. You get light in. I think that's the biggest thing with the Dome is people love the Dome when it's open because it's bright, it's airy, it's light. But when the Dome's closed, it's a dank feeling.
I do dig, like at night when they just shine a different color off the roof. It sounds so stupid, but depending on how crappy the weather is. If it's like an overcast thing, right? It looks like an alien invasion. It's actually kind of cool. So
yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll talk about Georgia Bow after the next break, because we got one more left. What do we feel? Oh no, we've already done 3 commercials as well. So I don't know.
Okay. We can.
Okay, this will be a real commercial, but I'm going to say this because this kind of goes towards our commercial thing.
Yeah.
And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago.
Well, here, hold on. Let me get you in here. Give me a second. There you go. You're ready to rock.
Okay. So this is what it comes down to. Now, a lot of people do this advertising thing on Twitch, on TikTok, all this stuff because of things they need. Well, you know what? We need stuff. What do you need, guys? You can fix this. We need people who can help me fix this and this. We are willing to take sponsors for different things. I will be your guinea pig. That's what I'm going to offer you all right now. If you have a way, an exercise routine that can help me get in better shape, if you have something like that helmet I've seen that puts like lasers on your head and can grow your hair, whatever it is, if you think there's something that can make us look and feel better, we would like to advertise that on here, especially and actually only if you're Canadian. Sorry, Mark. It's important for us to push the Canadian brand, being the only Canadian brand on 365sportscast.com, which you should also be checking out other programs on. But for our sakes, we really want to get Canadian companies known. And if I can show the results through me of how we can improve and make me better, and I can do it through your product, let's do that. Because I keep forgetting the second one. Because I'm a corporate shill. I don't care anymore.
All right, we got
Stuff's expensive these days.
We got 9 minutes left.
I'm willing to do it for you and show you how it works.
We got 9 minutes left, so we can touch on the George and Bo thing, or we can also do trade deadline, which is Tuesday. I feel that's a big one as well. So I don't know.
Well, we'll touch on George briefly.
Yeah. And
this is just very, very briefly. Anybody who thought George Springer was going to do 162 games is fooling themselves. George Springer has never, ever played 162 games. George Springer is a 120-game guy. He always has been. Maybe 130, 135 if you throw in like pinch hitting at bats and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. George Springer is a perpetually hurt dude. He just is. But when he plays really, really, really well. Yeah. So you have to accept that. Which leads to the trade deadline thing is, what do we need in the outfield? We need an outfielder. We need a left-handed hitting outfielder. I got to center field.
I got a candidate.
Let me guess. Is your candidate from the Chicago Cubs?
No, he is National League West though, and it's literally just sort of come on the market. So I mean, you're going to say Ian Happ. Yeah, and yes,
he's the guy. Yeah. He's going to go. He's not going to cost a lot. Because I think he's an underrated player in general. So I think the cost for him will be low.
Mine is the fact that San Fran has recently just bombed the last couple of games.
I know you're gonna say.
stated that anyone is on the table. So left-handed bat plays outfield. I think Jock Pedersen. I mean, it's a big ask, but it's a left-handed bat. The Giants are listening to everyone. It doesn't even matter. Like,
was he under contract?
He has a pretty fat contract, but he's got another year.
No, but is it a 1-year contract?
Yeah.
Is this his only contract?
This is his only contract, yeah. So
he didn't sign a multi-year deal.
He didn't sign a multi-year, no.
So he's going to cost us nothing.
Yeah. Him and Carlos Rendon, I think, are going to be the best, are going to be sort of the big candidates out of that. So I mean, with the exception of us having to face, Tommy Pham and get in a fight or something like that, I think Jock Pedersen's actually a pretty good pickup.
Yeah, I mean, I could go for him as well. Those would be the two I would focus on. I mean, I'm still thinking our bullpen is what we need. And honestly, we have been watching a team in the past few days that has many, many bullpen pieces that they're probably going to trade.
One that you actually mentioned, 3 weeks ago, like literally threw a name out there, and actually his name has been floating around in trade rumors, is Fulmer.
Michael Fulmer.
Yeah. And you mentioned that 3 weeks ago, and he had a great, little exposition against us.
But now they're saying that Soto's on, and they're also Jose, the other one I would get is Jimenez. He throws some crazy heat, that kid. So if we can get Jimenez or Fulmer or both of them for somebody, I'd go for that, no problem.
And the one that I was looking for us to pick up, and he said he wouldn't go, but he actually went to the Mariners, was Castillo from the Reds. And
I didn't think we had a chance for him anyway.
Yeah, but that's a massive pickup by the Mariners, because the Mariners are I think are going to be that last little wild card team that's going to sneak in.
Yeah, the guys have got to be consistent. Rodriguez has got to make sure he doesn't get hurt for them. Yeah. They did give up a lot. Like Noelle, the shortstop they gave up was a pretty prized prospect. But the package wasn't really crazy. It wasn't like a blowaway prospect.
No, they keep Gonzalez. They keep Ty France. Like they're fine. Yeah, and
so I mean, yeah.
I'm still dumbfounded though that there's people that are interested in Joey Gallo. and there's
I think
three.
people think he just needs to change the scenery. They think being a Yankee has been too much pressure, and I can see that. Being a Yankee is a lot of pressure, man. Like just in general,
Yeah.
and when you really suck it, oh, I can't even imagine what that kid's going through.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that's got to be the worst feeling is to bat 87 or whatever the hell. Like what is it? I read that. That's right. And this was last week before Judge started blasting home runs again.
Yeah.
That Judge had more home runs than he had base hits.
Oh my
At the time, it was like
god, that's awesome.
Judge had 33 home runs and Gallo had 32
Well,
hits.
let's have a quick. I'm gonna have a quick look at this while you're spouting off. I'm also still dumbfounded that the Yankees did pick up Benintendi.
Benintendi.
That's
You know what? That just goes to show you these idiots who don't want to get vaxxed. It has nothing to do with the vaccine at all.
yeah,
Because Benintendi is going to be vaxxed.
yeah.
He's pretty much said, like, he said that already. Remember we mentioned a couple weeks ago, he's like, well, I'm not going to get, but if I get traded to a contender, well, maybe I'll start considering the vaccine.
Okay, so Joey Gallo.
That just goes to show it has nothing to do with it.
Joey Gallo, randomly, like for the home runs that he's got this year, because he's got 12 homers, but he's got 37 hits. That's it, 37. So he still has less hits than Judge.
Judge has homers.
Judge has homers, yeah. But his hit to home run ratio is actually pretty good, but he just doesn't hit. His batting average is 159 right now. Like that's bad.
Like his OPS going into the season, like was 800 something, which is a decent OPS.
Yeah.
But he just hasn't done it. And the other thing he hasn't been doing as well is fielding, which was the other thing they wanted him for. They're like, well, if he can't hit, at least he can catch the ball.
Yeah.
He hasn't been the best outfielder either. I just think he doesn't like where he is. I think he's so far in his head right now.
Yeah.
And that leads me to the other person I wanted to talk to about briefly, Bo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is with Bo. I don't know what I'm seeing. Like, I'm just getting this sense when I watch him that he doesn't give a fuck. That he just doesn't. Like, I know he does. I know how hard he works. I know he's an hour before. Like, he's always an early in, late out kind of guy. But I understand his aggressiveness is what makes him good. But it's killing us. Like, I don't know why we would put him at 4. That's not less pressure than 2. Like, he should not be batting cleanup. Like, the way he's hitting now, he should be batting 8 or 9.
Yeah, but do you think that he was that he might be a victim of letting Montoyo go? Like, because that might have been his guy.
He wanted Montoyo gone.
Yeah. Okay, that's something I didn't know, because I knew a couple of the other kids.
He has said in some interviews, there's like when they asked him about it, he just basically like, well, sometimes clubs need new direction, and we definitely needed new direction. Yeah. It was basically, paraphrasing what he said, but that's what he said.
Because I knew some of the Dominican kids and the Spanish kids were big on Montoya because he actually could speak.
He spoke Spanish. Yeah, but Schneider speaks Spanish too enough, and he knows a lot of these guys from. We've been over all this stuff, and he's done with them in the minor. But just the way Bo carries himself, there's just something not right with me. I can't put my finger on it. I know he's an aggressive swinger. I have no problem with that. Like he was last year and he killed it. Yeah. But there's just something off with him this year. Defensively, he's been pretty good. Not the best, but I mean, he's definitely better than he was last year. Like I think defensively, he's made some big strides. I just think he's got to start maybe changing his uber aggressive approach at the plate. Because I'm telling you, if he keeps up the way he's going with the talent that he has, if the Jays see what I'm seeing, he could be part of a package next year.
Could be. I don't discard it, but like it's because the Jays aren't above trading away fan favorites. That's a big thing.
The thing is, we're gonna have to pay these guys. This is the other thing people don't seem to understand is you can keep this whole core if you want to, and they're all hitting really, really well. But a lot of them are going to come a contract to at the same time. There's only so much like finagling with contracts from year to year that you can do, like front load, back load, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's just if Bo doesn't show remarkable change between now and the next trade deadline, or maybe even by the off season, maybe Orelvis becomes our shortstop. We trade Bo for pitching.
We got 30 seconds left. We got to wrap this bad boy up.
So thanks for watching us.
Well, we got what do we have? We got the Twins, we got the Rays this coming week, and the deadline is Tuesday.
These are guys below us. We gotta knock them both down. We really do. I'm worried about the Twins. I'm not worried about the Rays.
No. All right, guys.
They're losing. They've lost other guys. So
yeah.
Good luck, peoples. Have fun this week.
And
Don't get
Jeff,
COVID.
Feel better.